I was just going to ask you if you had three pieces of advice for someone who's trying to move abroad to Southeast Asia. What would that be?
The first thing I would definitely suggest is to get some sort of income stream, no matter how small it is, coming in before you leave home. Even if you're just going for like 3 months, 6 months, a year, I cannot recommend enough the idea, even just as a practice, to start having some income coming in. Do something 4 hours a week online, get onto Fiverr, Upwork, just your first couple contracts or jobs or your first client. And it really changes how you think about travel. I think if you have money coming into your bank account, if your money is constantly going down, if you have no source of income, then no matter where you are or how long your trip is, it's always a countdown to zero to when you go home.
It's very good advice. Would you go through like what the cost of living is like there versus, let's say, Toronto, where you're from? Like, how significant is it? What are some examples of what someone might expect living and renting a 2-bedroom apartment and, getting daily supplies?
The first, I think the best way to start the cost of living comparison is by looking at your basic needs, right? Like the roof over your head, food, clothes, etc. And the thing about Vietnam is not just that it's still one of the most affordable places in the world. It's not, and I probably made videos like this on YouTube. It's not the cheapest country in the world anymore. It's probably not even one of the cheapest 20 or 30s. But what's happened is that it's had incredible economic growth, like relative to where it started, right? So it's this really fast, dynamic, rapidly developing country, but it started at a very, very low point. So I think the average income here, maybe the GDP per person, it's still only about 5,000 US dollars, right? Which is very low. But the quality of life for everyone in Vietnam is like tens of millions of people have been pulled out of poverty in the last, 2 to 3 decades since the 90s and since the economy reopened. And what that means is that you can get all of your basic needs and necessities for less than $5,000 a year, right? They give you just a straight up way. You can also go way higher than that and spend whatever you want. But your simple basics are just so much more affordable than they are in somewhere like Canada, the United States, that it's hard to believe. It's hard to actually compare them, right? Like you can get this big, beautiful, incredible banh mi sandwich for under $1, And the thing that's impressive about it, and which you don't necessarily find in other countries in Southeast Asia, is that it's extremely high quality. Like Vietnam is a big agricultural producer. It's a self-sustainable country, right? And most countries are not self-sustainable anymore. Vietnam produces enough rice, enough fruits, enough vegetables, and enough meat to feed its entire 100 million person population. Most places, especially the island countries around Southeast Asia, don't do that. And because of it, it means that people here eat really well and are generally pretty healthy, even if they're only making that, whatever it is, $5,000, $10,000 a year salary. And you as a visitor get access to some of those things, especially if you sort of step outside of the tourist zones, even just to like an average sort of residential area, right? Like if you walk into a residential middle-class part of Vietnam, a part of the city where like there's houses or row houses where people have cars, like new cars parked in front of their houses. You're going to walk into a restaurant. It's still only going to cost $2 or $3, right? Because that's triple the cost of like the 50 cents or 25 cents that some rural villager is going to pay for a bowl of noodles.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Vietnam for me was one of the most places I've ever been. And I just absolutely love my time there. I did 6 weeks. And yeah, a couple of dollars for some pho and banh mi on the street. So easy, so quick and easy, super good. And the coffee, if you love coffee, man, the coffee is just ridiculously amazing. And it's like on steroids, man. It's like, $1 coffee at the street vendor, iced coffee, ready to go in like 30 seconds, and you're boosted up and like off to the races, man. It's absolutely awesome. So
Vietnam's the second biggest coffee producer in the world. It's mostly Robusta, like the darker, cheaper beans, which are also more caffeinated. So yeah, the coffee really is like rocket fuel. But there's an enormous cafe culture here too, right? So every little neighborhood, every little local corner, literally like each block, not just each neighborhood, has its own Vietnamese style cafe, or, you know, a little auntie with a bicycle cart selling coffee on the streets. And you can literally get an incredible coffee for under $1 pretty much anywhere in the entire country, top to bottom. And the beer, we should at least mention it. People do like to drink, especially when they're traveling. Vietnam also still has some of the biggest, it has one of the, if not the biggest independent brewer in the world. Okay. So it was like the whole country had a monopoly. It was like, I think it might have actually sold a chunk of the company. You're not a controlling stake. They might have sold like 30% to whatever, you know, one of the big conglomerates. But the beer that's been made in Hanoi for however long, and famously you used to be able to go and get a little glass, like I don't know what the equivalent of, not a pint of beer, maybe about a half pint of beer. And it used to cost about 30 cents US for like a half pint of a glass of beer on the streets in Hanoi, which is good times. Yeah.
It's crazy. And the Vietnamese love to drink. They have a good drinking culture too. So that's always like, that's a lot of fun to be around. Like, and they have the chant, you know, when they're drinking and cheersing, which is a lot of fun. And so, yeah, if you do like to have drinks, Vietnam is a very good place to do that inexpensively, and also, you know, interact with the Vietnamese at the same time, because it's very much a part of their culture as well. Yeah. So yeah, I love that. Very cheap beer. You can never go wrong with that. I think I remember staying in a hostel once in the north of Vietnam before doing the Hai Giang Loop, and the bed was a bed with free breakfast and 2 hours worth of all-you-can-drink happy hour in the mountains with a pool. It was $3 a night. You know, it's like, where am I? Like, it's pretty insane. And that was a couple years ago. It's probably $5 a night now, but still a great deal.
It's another underrated aspect of it, which it ties into the thing I was saying about one of the reasons why the food costs and things are still so low, is because if it's a product being sold domestically to local Vietnamese people, the price has to be low for them to be able to afford it, right? To access it. And the same thing is true of hotel rooms. One of the reasons people are often shocked when they come to Vietnam that you can find such a, you know, decent, or I won't say great or like top hole. We're not talking about 5-star hotels, right? We're talking about your sort of like average, you know, inn or like stay the night hotel, your 2 or 3-star hotel. And in almost any city in Vietnam you can find one easily for $10. And it's for the exact same reason, which is that there's a huge domestic tourism market, right? Just the comparison is maybe like mainland China. And the prices have to be that affordable because the businesses depend on local Vietnamese people coming and, you know, and being their clients and staying there.
It is super inexpensive. Back then I was still backpacking and staying in hostels, but yeah, it's if you're a couple or you want to upgrade out of the hostels, which who doesn't? After a while, you get kind of aged out of that, and it's not the best accommodation. You know, Vietnam has some very affordable alternatives as well. So that's what's awesome about it. One of the many things. I wanted to ask just a couple rapid fire questions. What is one of your favorite online digital nomad communities or forums?
One famous old job board, which I would go back to for years and years, Dave's ESL Cafe. I'm sure it still exists. And I haven't looked for a job there in a while. I'm sure it still exists, though. Dave's ESL Cafe. It was originally started by a guy teaching English in Korea, I think like in the 90s. I don't know. It's been around forever, but that is an awesome one. Great place to find people, forums. The other one, I think low key, it's like Facebook groups.
Yeah.
Facebook groups, which are, and I'm not talking about any particular one, but our common friend, Mike abroad in Thailand, he runs a great one in Koh Samui. But I really think for expats and people looking to live as digital nomads and slow travel, the fastest way in Asia, at least, to meet the local community of expats, to find out and get real information, is to join the Facebook expat group, right? So you show up in Saigon and you join the Saigon expats or whatever, or the Hong Kong expats, or the Irish and Kuala Lumpur group, or any of those things. I mean, I could also plug my own site, but we'll leave that to the end.
Facebook is every single spot has a backpackers, Ho Chi Minh, expats Ho Chi Minh, a digital nomad Ho Chi Minh. So whatever group you want to put yourself in any city, anywhere, pretty much has a group. And so you're instantly plugged in. And so it is a great place for that, for sure.
Yeah, I'm like, it's so specific too, right? Like whether you're like, I remember when I first got to Ho Chi Minh, I'm a home brewer and I was like home brewing beer and it was too hot there. I couldn't figure out how to do it. Found a Facebook group. There was no solution to brewing beer that hot, but I made like 5 or 6 great friends.
Thanks for tuning in. If you found this episode useful, please like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. You can hear all the full episodes of Digital Nomad Nation wherever you listen to podcasts. Drop your key takeaway in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. And remember, you're only one bold decision away from a life full of freedom.